It was your job to see that endemic criminal phone hacking at News of the World was concealed.
No.
You did this by paying Goodman's expensive lawyers, and you continued to pay him even when he pleaded guilty and was on remand.
It's not remotely surprising that we paid for Clive Goodman's lawyers. At the time he was arrested, we had no idea whether he was or was not guilty, whether he'd plead guilty or would not plead guilty. You're certainly going to start off by supplying him with legal representation. That is the proper, decent and correct thing to do. Now, at some stage, he then indicated that he would plead guilty. The financing of his representation continued to be paid by News International. I don't think that's a bad thing, to be perfectly honest.
Was it right to pay him even when he was in prison, when he'd been found guilty by a court?
Pay what?
Pay his salary in prison?
Oh, I have nothing to do with how his salary was paid. I didn't even know it was being paid.
Okay. And all this despite gross misconduct, hacking into the voicemails of the royal family. It was right to pay him then?
Pay him his salary?
Was it right to pay him the £240,000 payoff?
Well, I have nothing to do with employment.
What do you think about that? What's your view of that?
My views are relevant, Mr. Wilson.
The truth is, you didn't see it as gross misconduct, did you? You just thought it was a reporter's job at News of the World.
That is absolute nonsense.
And as far as you're concerned, the only problem was he got caught.
That is nonsense.
And so now you had to conceal the crime.
That is nonsense.
You were desperate to ensure that it didn't become known that hacking was standard practice at News of the World, weren't you?
That's not true. And
that's why you told Goodman that he could have his job back, that if he did not implicate the paper or any of its staff.
Mr. Watson, since confidentiality in these legal discussions seems to have been waived by Farrers at least, it may be that if you ask the other lawyers who were present during the legal meetings, they will tell you that the allegation you just made and was originally made by Clive Goodman, it has no truth at all.
You promised him his job in order to suppress evidence of criminality at News of the World.
That is not true.
And that's why James Murdoch agreed to pay the Taylor settlement, wasn't it?
That is not true.
It's for the same reason that you sanctioned the payment of Glenn Care's legal fees, wasn't it?
I don't know whether I did sanction it. I mean, he was getting representation when the civil... he wasn't... his legal fees weren't paid in his criminal representation at the Old Bailey. But when the civil cases started, he wasn't cooperating with us in any way, shape or form. He had to have lawyers, and it was agreed, I think, that his lawyers would be financed in the hope that we would actually get from him, the one person who could tell us the full story, we could get the full picture.
Who agreed it?
I can't remember.